The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Definitely, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. All I know is I'm right, Dale. That's all that I know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's delusional thinking. Yeah. Delusions of grandeur, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally.
And good morning, you guys. It is Thursday, March 5th, 2026, and today is National Slam the Scam Day.
Yeah, like you're, never mind.
What? Like what, Jenny Beth?
Slam the scam.
Slam the scam? Yeah, this is for all those like Nigerian phone banks.
Slam the scam.
Yeah.
It's open a Somali daycare, Jason.
Somali daycare, they don't call you. They don't ever call and check on your kids or any of that. You know what I mean? They don't call and check on your kids.
Nonprofit for homelessness. There we go. There's a scam.
That's a scam. Well, slam the scam is you're supposed to slam the phone on all the scammers that are calling you. That's the whole point of the slam the scam, you guys. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, gotta catch these people up sometimes on what's hip, apparently.
Oh boy! All right.
But let's see. Today we also have it's also National Hospitalist Day. Shout out to all those hospital workers out there.
Hospitalists are just the doctors, by the way.
Are you sure? It segregates against the nurses. That's kind of a little unfair.
Just call it Happy Doctor Day.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's probably, I guess they're just dealing with the doctors in the hospital.
I think that's a little discriminatory,
Jenny
Beth.
They have a good union. The lobbyists are lobbying, okay? What do you want from me? I'm just trying to help you out.
I appreciate that, Jenny. Thank you so much for your help.
You're welcome.
I got one for you, Jenny.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I don't like it.
It's it's National Absinthe Day.
Absinthe Day?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
You don't like absinthe? Tastes like black
I'm not
licorice.
trying to see the little green fairy.
Oh, the drink abstinence.
Yeah. Not abstinence, not National Abstinence Day.
Well, Abstinence Day? I'm celebrating National Abstinence Day.
We have to make sure you clarify your terms here, dude.
Hey, it's all. I get it. I just heard the funniest joke out of Jenny Beth. In case anybody caught it, that was hysterical, Jenny. It's also National.
I'm fully turned all the way off. I'm celebrating National Abstinence Day every day for maybe the rest of my life.
Let you tell it. It's also National Cheese Doodle Day. Exactly. See, Dale. See, even Dale knows you're lying. It's National Cheese Doodle Day, though.
You love a cheese doodle.
But I haven't had cheese doodles in I don't know how long. Yeah. I'm not allowed to.
I don't think you can still find cheese doodles. I mean, that's like
they're long gone.
Yeah, you'd have to make those at home if you really need to relive that nostalgia.
Just so you know, my Cheetos identify as cheese doodles.
Aren't those things
Oreos identify as Hydrox, but nobody wants to call them that.
Is that why you can leave them out for months at a time? What's that, Dale?
You give those to squirrels, it kills them. So aren't they on Bobby Kennedy's don't eat list?
Oh,
like that?
Man.
Squirrel?
Well, that too. Possum and clamp.
Wow.
Oh, man.
There, huh?
Speaking of, since I got all you guys here today, it's fantastic because guess what else today is? Last but not least, today is National Multiple Personality Day.
Jason, that's you. You're a Gemini with all your little personalities.
I know.
Oh, I'm a Gemini too. I only got about 4 or 5. So let's just not
Why
I'm
is
still there.
personalities little?
Nate Bradley in the chat, he says, someone tell Jason that Oreos go stale. And I don't think Oreos actually go stale. They just
Oreos definitely go stale. I'll tell you why. Okay, when I was little, I used to only like the cream filled part, so I decided it'd be a great idea to sit in this big armchair we had in the corner and lick the cream out and throw the cookies behind it. Well, they were on my plate for dinner the next day, and they were stale. So there's that, and I think that's child abuse, but I'm not sure.
It's not child abuse. I can tell you what child abuse is.
Maybe in California it is, but not in Montana. I'll tell you.
It's definitely not in Georgia either, because it for sure happened.
When I grew up, one of my babysitters had some kids, and she used to make, when they would do bad things, that she would make them kneel on the grate, you know, the register where the furnace, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's abusive.
And then on top of it would put liquid dish soap in their mouth and make them sit there with it.
Washing your mouth out with soap is a very old Southern thing, but it's usually a bar soap.
Oh no! Yeah. This was liquid soap in the mouth, and you have to sit like this with it.
Stone, has your mouth been washed out with soap? Because I feel like you just got triggered.
My grandmother was from Mississippi. She was a Southern Baptist lady, and that bitch washed my. Oh, I didn't like her at all. She'd wash my mouth out with bar soap. She was a mean church lady. Let me tell you that.
Man.
You know what today should be, Jason Beck?
What's that, Jenny?
National Unfree Britney Day, because she got a DUI last night.
Stop it.
What is Brittany doing driving?
She got arrested for DUI last night in Ventura County.
Oh man, poor Brittany.
Oh please,
poor Brittany.
Probably wasn't alcohol either.
I feel bad. I feel bad for Brittany. She's been totally abused and been manipulated by the whole system. Her dad has been taking advantage of her with this. What's that thing called where he has control?
You mean that thing that kept her from doing stuff like getting DUIs?
Yeah, but
conservatorship.
Her conservatorship. No, she got roped into that. She's
pretty funny.
She's been getting abused the whole time by these weirdos.
I was 100% for free Brittany, but oh my God, since she got free, I'm like, oh my God, put her back in.
Put her back in.
Put her back.
You know the thing.
We don't know how to handle the mentally ill in California. We send them out to live in tents. We don't know what to do with them.
I have no problem with that. Send them all off onto Zizek's Road.
Listen, we saw, not Zizek's Road, we saw this coming. I mean, y'all seen the videos, the dancing with the knives.
I mean, she was a dancer.
She's in the red book, that's for sure.
I feel bad for Brittany.
Being drunk is not okay.
I feel bad
hope
for
that
Brittany.
she gets the mental health assistance that she needs.
She's been totally, manipulated for a long time.
I think Thorazine might work. That would be a great start.
Well, you know what would work is we're going to roll into the show. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website, www.high9news.com. So thank you for all of us joining us from whatever platform you were joining us from. And we are going to kick the show off with Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3 that helps justice impaired individuals get their life backs on track after they've been victims of the track. It is America's sweetheart, Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Call me America's sweetheart again. I love that part.
I bet you do. I bet you do. You can play. You can go watch the show afterwards and put it on repeat.
Okay, we'll just America's sweetheart. America's sweetheart. I'm gonna make that your ringtone on my phone.
I could totally see you doing that.
Yeah. All right. So today's episode of Don't F Around in Asia. South Korean authorities have indicted 2 men in their 30s for illegally growing cannabis at what was supposed to be a state-subsidized smart farm. According to the Straits Times, prosecutors say the men initially received government support, including low-interest loans, monthly vouchers, and electricity bill discounts. That must be nice, to operate a legitimate agriculture venture. But investigators allege they instead built an underground facility beneath the greenhouse and cultivated cannabis plants under direction from a dark web dealer. Authorities found roughly 2.8 kilograms of cannabis at the site when they made the arrest. This case is a part of a larger national crackdown on drug crimes launched late last year with a joint government task force targeting smuggling, distribution, and illegal cultivation. Cultivating, distributing, and selling cannabis remains serious offenses under South Korea's Narcotics Control Act. The sack on these guys is absolutely out of this world big, because how did you think that you were going to have the South Korean government subsidize your farm, your electricity bill, and everything else, and they weren't going to come check and see what you were growing? Dale?
Well, the people that I know in the industry who take these kind of chances, that the males who are highly disagreeable. Sometimes the intelligent part of their brain's disconnected from the behavior they engage in. And you're right. They're just fucking I'm sorry. I shouldn't say.
Yes, thank you, Dale.
They're idiots, okay? Thinking that no one's going to come look. And, it isn't a brand new problem. We have it here in California, too. As you know, Jason, people have been known to hide stuff, underground or try to grow it in the building in the back no one's looking at. The downside in these Asian countries is sometimes they'll whack you. Well, and be careful.
I have an idea why these people were so bold. I have an idea.
Why, Jason? Why? Go ahead with the dad joke, Jason.
No, it's no dad joke. It's just truth. My little conspiracy theory. You know what I'm saying? Just, they were definitely probably paying off the Moonies, and then the Moonies were like, hey, you know what? You got to pay us more money. And they were like, oh, no, we're not going to pay more money. And boom. And then that's what happened.
Anyway, Jason.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jason.
Not of grandeur.
That's delusion. That's not delusion. That's a real thing.
Yeah, right. It's manufactured between your ears, buddy.
It's the truth.
It sounds like they're on the FO phase of FAFO. So, yeah, that's that doesn't. That doesn't bode well. I mean, I'm not sure if it's just a different generation than we're a part of, but I remember growing up with movies that talk about explicitly how you shouldn't do this, and like just basically showing you in awful detail what would happen if you did. Maybe these people weren't granted the same, but it's the equivalent of watching, growing up on horror films and thinking if somebody's chasing you, you should go upstairs. Like, no, you wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? So yeah, this is that's an interesting story. Thank you for that, Jenny Beth, and hello again. It's been a while.
Hi. Yeah, it has been. I mean, listen, I just am enjoying all this. I'm doing a series called Don't F Around in Asia, because once a week I'll give you an Asia story that's not gone well. They can always watch Locked Up Abroad.
I mean, it is. I loved Locked Up Abroad was always so good. I enjoyed watching that show. They'd build up the suspense and da-da-da-da.
It just reminds me where to not commit crimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was educational series. Exactly. Exactly right, Jenny Beth. I'm with you on that.
Well, after being in prison, I'd rather be in prison in the United States than in any of these countries. At least I had a fighting chance.
I'll go to Switzerland. It's nice over there.
Probably a nice place where they serve you tea and give you a dog like Ghislaine Maxwell gets,
Ghislaine's not in prison, but hey, that's a show for another day.
I don't know. There's that video that was showing that she was out there in Switzerland or Finland or something.
She was in Canada.
Was it Canada? Was it Canada? I just know it looked cold. Yeah, maybe it was.
I called her name and she turned her head immediately.
Yeah. And then she was standing with someone else that was associated with all of them too.
His attorney.
Yeah,
it was either Dershowitz or it was her brother. It was one of those two. It looked like
it was not Alan Dershowitz.
One of those two.
Well, anyhow,
I want to know where all the videos are. Come on.
Oh man. Well, on that, we're gonna roll into our first commercial because that is a video, and we're gonna be right back, Dale. Yes, and we are back, you guys. And oh man, do I have
coming
a
up
humdinger?
Next, we got the High at 9 head honcho, the highest Republican. He doesn't like his intro anymore. I can tell by his blinking. Guess it's not feeding his ego. Jason Beck.
Oh, I'm glad you guys are, in a joyous mood today, and Dale's clapping. So
he can't take a joke, Jenny Beth. I'm just telling you.
I take all the jokes. I take all the jokes. Trust me. I take all the jokes every day. All of them.
Takes them right to heart. That's where he takes them, Dale.
I take them to the bank, girl. Know that. You know what I'm saying? You know who else got taken to the bank is this lady, because they helped her open a weed shop, and now they're suing her for $2.5 million, you guys. That's right. Leanne Matta made history 2 years ago when she became the first black woman to open a legal cannabis dispensary in Brooklyn. She started the business with the support of Housing Works, a nonprofit that assists people living with AIDS. It seemed to be a perfect match years ago. Three of Miss Malta's brothers were detained on low-level marijuana offenses under state laws that have since been amended, and Housing Works has expanded its mission to helping those negatively affected by the so-called war on drugs. But the partnership quickly soured because Miss Matta and Housing Works are now locked in a battle. The nonprofit sued Miss Matta for $2.5 million in unpaid fees, and Miss Matta filed a complaint with state regulators accusing Housing Works of taking advantage of her. It raises questions about what constitutes a fair deal in a nascent industry where cash and expertise are in short supply because selling cannabis remains illegal under federal law. Well, also because people just want to do it and they think they're experts all of a sudden. Anyways, the last straw, Miss Matta said, was when a delivery driver for Housing Works flagship dispensary in Manhattan visited her store, Marijuana in Park Slope, Brooklyn, in April of 2024, and remarked that he was making deliveries in the area. She said she felt the nonprofit was undercutting her business because its consultants were telling her that her store was not ready to offer delivery yet. It was itself delivering in the area, however. In a quote, "Everything they were doing was destroying my company," Miss Matta, 45, said. Matthew Bernardo, the president of Housing Works, said the nonprofit delivered to Park Slope before it became involved in marijuana, and while he was proud to have helped Miss Matta make history, he said her store did not have the software or training early on to offer delivery. Doing so, unprepared, could have gotten her in trouble with regulators, he added. And he said the lawsuit filed last September was a last resort after Miss Matta refused to honor their contract and they could no longer agree to a settlement, in a quote. "There was always disagreements. Ultimately, both parties had to abide by their contract." And then another quote, "You took unexperienced players and basically threw them to the wolves," Jeffrey Hoffman, a New York-based cannabis lawyer who has helped licenses open businesses, said. And Amber Center, the co-founder of Supernova Women, a nonprofit supporting people of color in the cannabis industry, said similar scenarios had played out in Oakland, California, Los Angeles, and Chicago. In New York, Housing Works opened the state's first licensed dispensary back in 2022, and its sales climbed to $24 million that first year, and investors began to take notice. But Mr. Bernardo said the nonprofit saw an opportunity to create a business incubator using their experience to help some of the licenses affected by past marijuana convictions. Dan Marina, the owner of Chelsea Cannabis in Manhattan, also made a deal with Housing Works, and he said that he signed on after spurning offers from investors that he felt either crossed the line of what was legally allowed or at least undermined the spirit of the program. "Everyone either just wanted to buy me out or do some loophole deal where I'm not in the store and they do it in my name," Mr. Marina, who also owns a company raising money for technology startups, said. "Or they find some way that you can't fire them and they're in control." And under Miss Matta's deal, Housing Works introduced her to investors who put up $700,000 for a 19% stake in the company. The nonprofit also assumed responsibility of marijuana when they defaulted on its lease, and it brought on consultants who hired staff members and managed payroll and accounting. In exchange, Marijuana agreed to pay $20,000 a month and give 5% of its revenue to Housing Works under the 3-year deal. Mr. Bernardo said the nonprofit never collected a penny. Benjamin Ratner, an attorney in New York who has reviewed dozens of cannabis contracts, said that compared with other deals, what Housing Works offered did not seem bad on paper. And in a quote, "It's definitely not the most predatory agreement I've seen. And if followed, it had the potential to at least help the licensee get up and running without straining them." without strangling them, he said. Marijuana is one of 6 dispensaries that partnered with Housing Works and the only one to serve the deal on bad terms, and all but one of the stores are among the state's highest grossing dispensaries according to sales data complied by Lit Alerts, a market research company. Rick Bashkoff, the chief executive officer of Lit Alerts, said the data suggests the partnerships were fruitful, though it does not account for the business's costs. End of quote. They've done a good job of at least getting the revenue in the door, he said. And Miss Matta said Housing Works began courting her in the summer of 2023 after the death in June of her mother, who used cannabis to wean herself off opioids. The nonprofit invited her and other licenses to tour their Manhattan store, where she said they offered to help with her dispensary. She said the deal appeared to her because it was a familiar nonprofit that was already operating a successful dispensary in New York. And she says, "You don't think they would take advantage of me, do you?" she said. But Miss Mattis said that because of the string of errors by Housing Works consultants, her staff was paid incorrectly and her quarterly business taxes were filed late, resulting in an Internal Revenue Service penalty. The contract required Miss Mata to give Housing Works 90 days to fix the problems, but Miss Mata said she could no longer trust the organization, and after finding out the nonprofit's dispensary was delivering orders in her store's territory, she sent Mr. Bernardo a letter on May 13th outlining why she believed Housing Works was failing to hold up its end of the contract and offering a $50,000 to sever the deal. Mr. Bernardo said the nonprofit could not accept her offer because it left them on the hook for marijuana's lease if she defaulted, and he said Housing Works wanted her to pay the fees until she could replace the nonprofit as a guarantor. And after the nonprofit sued her, Ms. Mata filed a complaint last October against Housing Works with a new unit at the state cannabis agency responsible for ensuring cannabis contracts are fair and legal, but she said she had not heard anything about her case, and the official in charge of the unit, the Trade Practices Bureau, was fired amid the fallout from an unrelated investigation. The Office of Cannabis Management declined to disclose the status of the complaint, citing confidentiality. New York, such a cluster, New York. He's just the gift that keeps on giving, and these predatory grifters just keep on grifting. What do y'all have to say about this?
Here I come. Here I come.
Oh, and there we go. There she is.
Stack on Amber Center. Man, I'm sure she's very well aware of how that went down in Oakland because she did it. If you guys aren't sure about where the money went, look at that big fat Jeep she drives and those nice new suits she bought herself. So, wow. My head is exploding. I'm sure she's trying to get into partnership with this lady, and I would implore her not to do so. But, that's just my opinion on that one. I do appreciate the OCM actually putting together a new department that actually seeks to enforce these contractual obligations that they set forth in their regulations. I think that other states should follow suit on that because this is a tale as old as time, starting with people like Amber Center.
The more things change, the more things stay the same, right?
I have reviewed more predatory contracts than I care to think about. That's why you should have someone who knows what they're doing look at these and tell you, have a come to Jesus meeting about what it really means to get in these contracts, and do what you can and due diligence to find out everything going on and not just accept the line of bullshit, which a lot of these people tend to give. And once you sign a contract, to try to talk about fairness in a contract when it's spelled out what the terms are, you don't get very far in the courts. Okay, the courts are not going to do equity in a contract when it's clear what you agreed to, and that's it's not fair to me. Well, too bad. You shouldn't have signed the goddamn deal. Then. And even though I've been up against some of these, I'm going to call them Chads from Orange County, who will bend you over. I've been there. We've had headbutting contact that will bend you over. And when you finally get the full picture of what they're doing, it's like you should have told us all about this stuff before, because then you might be able to go and challenge the contract. But unconscionability in a contract, or what we call adhesions in a contract, where they slip shit in there, these are hard battles to win in court. And they're the Lawyers Full Employment Act, basically, because you're going to spend $100,000 or more going in and fighting this stuff. And the chances you're going to win are not that good for you. This is a predatory arena because you can't go to Bank of America and give them a business plan and say, I want a loan for $700,000 at, 10% or 8%, whatever. They're going to tell you to pound sand. You're looking for sources of money that have agendas. And you need to be very wary of this, because I'm a business attorney. And if we work out a deal and you go, oh, it wasn't fair to me, it's like, well, bitch, where was your attorney? At this, you signed it, you don't like it now, you can kiss my ass, and I'll see you in court, because I put an attorney's fees provision in there, and I'm going to take your wife's wedding ring if you want to mess with me. Let's go.
I want to know who had on their bingo card that Dale was going to say slip one in there.
Hey, after prison, I really have to be conscious of what I say, because I was talking to somebody from the Norteños now. I just got to be careful, because my 5-year-old grand says, Papa, that's a bad word. Don't say that. Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry.
Nice. Tell him to piss up a rope, Dale. That's what I'd say.
Yeah. Well,
what you should tell him is you need a swear jar, Dale. Kid's gonna be driving you need a swear jar. That kid's gonna be driving a Rolls Royce at 16.
You got it. Oh man, me and my dad, my youngest son. Holy God, we just get on a roll.
I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, it does suck because she didn't know any better. But also, I mean, come on, let's be real. This nonprofit sounds very for profit. And last time I checked, that's a big problem as well. So I would, maybe call the government and see if they can audit their affairs over there.
Oh man, that would be interesting. Stone Nate, you have any thoughts on this before we move on?
No, going to stay in my lane. It's interesting to hear about this kind of stuff. I mean, it sucks, but we got to keep these kind of stories flowing and hold people accountable who want to FAFO. So, hold them accountable, hold feet to the fire. More of that needs to happen in this world. So, thank you for the story.
Sad part is it usually doesn't work out like that. I've watched social equity operators have their businesses stripped from them because the courts don't understand the regulations for cannabis. They don't care, and they hear cannabis and their ears kind of shut. So please don't get into these predatory contracts. Have somebody like Dale or I review your equity share and what you're actually getting into before you get into it, because it's easier to keep you out of it than to get you out of it.
What were you saying, Stone? I'm sorry. You're all good? All right, fair enough. All right, well, then we're going to roll right into Mr. Dale Schafer. Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he has specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He's blunt. He doesn't smoke them because they're ratchet, they're nasty, and they turn your teeth yellow and other things yellow, but he is honest and he's unconcerned with public opinions, your opinion, and he wants to identify as anything else's opinion. And he will show you how he can defy gravity by pissing up a rope. That's right, is your favorite Tio Loco, and you can now find him at his own law office, at the law office of none other than Dale Schafer.
Hi, good morning. It's Tio Loco and Jason's favorite full of shit this morning. My story comes out of MJ Biz Daily, and I think it was Monday that this was put up by Margaret Jackson. The headline is, New Trump Tariffs Create More Chaos for Cannabis Operators. From vape hardware to packaging, cannabis operators face challenges under a layered tariff system that's evolving under U.S. trade policy. Now, if you've never tried to build a cannabis business or work out their cost of operations, then, fasten your seatbelt here. Because I've built, the only one I haven't built is a testing facility, and Nate may be able to talk about this, what kind of goods you need to get into your possession. But if you're a cultivator, you got to have greenhouses, irrigation systems, lights, all this stuff. Manufacturers have had to look for equipment internationally. If you're a manufacturer making pre-rolls, you got to get cones, mylar bags to put flour in. I mean, the list goes on. And even if you're a distributor or a deliverer, you're going to look for vehicles that are made outside the country because they tend to be cheaper. Gas mileage is good. When you sit down with a business operator and you start punching the numbers, as I'm going through the process of getting you licensed, and new steps take place, you got to go back and recrunch your numbers at time. And back in Trump's first administration, he put, I think, a 25% tax on cannabis goods, not cannabis products, but the underlying packaging and things like that coming out of China. So that's something that we've been dealing with for a while. When Trump rolled in, he started putting varying levels of tariffs on. Now, mind you, we've already got the 25% tariff, which is sort of baked into your board of directors discussions about who we're going to go with for whatever type of product we're going to get. Trump started throwing tariffs around that he had his own agenda, and I don't think he was thinking about the cannabis industry when he was throwing these tariffs out there. But when you're in the industry with small margins, it makes a big difference. So the Supreme Court pulled the plug on these varying levels of tariffs, but then he went through another route, and he's at 10% now, threatening 15%. I think he gets 150 days under the congressional authorization he's working on right now. And that's not enough time to get this to the courts or maybe even to get a hearing to stop it. I don't know if we're going to get any relief that way. But these are decisions that businesses have to make, and the cannabis industry is not immune from this. Going back to the Reagan era, when they, opened up international resources coming in for businesses, we just could not compete here in the United States. When you can go to China and you can get something for 30% of what it costs to make here in the United States, even the shipping costs make it worth your while to bring those in. Okay, and that's what we've been facing for a while here. Our industry is very much dependent on foreign products. Just because when you go to the United States looking for these products, it gets dicey. Okay, now I'm now working with a company that doesn't involve cannabis, but we do custom plastic products. And we were in the middle of negotiations in China when Trump put his tariffs out there. So that what we've dealt with is the same thing the cannabis industry's dealt with now, and a lot of other industries. We looked at the premium placed with the tariff, and it now made these products, comparable to some we can get in the United States. So we started emphasizing look at the United States, and we found some manufacturers. But gearing these up is not something you do overnight, and that's part of the struggles that we face. And let's say you're manufacturing pre-rolls, and they mentioned in the article you might have paid $2,000 to $4,000 for a container. And I don't know if this is a container that comes off a container ship, some other container that, I don't know what their metric is for a container. I'm assuming it's going to be a big container ship. But when you break that down, that's a matter of, percentages of a penny that you're paying for these products, basically. And that calculus is not hard to say, we'll just eat the costs of that, because if you're selling a pre-roll, it costs you $1 to make a pre-roll, and, it's less than a penny for the cone. You're not sweating that too much. But as it goes up, that becomes a different calculus. The bigger problem that I've faced is some of these larger items, HVAC systems, the motors that go into them, greenhouses, greenhouse products, manufacturers to do closed loop systems. And I found them primarily in Europe, Germany, specifically. Some of these systems that were like pharmaceutical products, manufacturing products, and the premiums attached to those are a hell of a lot more than some small percentage of a penny for a pre-roll. So these become issues for manufacturers or other parts of the cannabis supply chain, where you're really dependent on foreign suppliers, because you can't just go to the United States and go, hey, I need this product made, and you find one manufacturer who can sort of kind of do it, but the price premium is huge, when I could go to Germany, buy the same product, and it was much more efficient. The warranties were better. The infrastructure around it was better. And so it just wasn't cost effective to go to the United States. So what we're experiencing as an industry is nationwide. Everybody that relies on imported products to make your final products is suffering the same thing. How are we going to fix this problem? I don't know. I don't think the sky is falling as some parts of this story kind of make me think, oh, this is the end. No, it's not. But we do have to compete with the black market. And every time you add cost, okay, to an industry that has very small profit margins, it starts to become, very concerning. It's not existential yet, but it's concerning. I mean, I don't know what to say to encourage manufacturers of, cone tips and the cone papers in the United States. If they can do that, I don't know. Vape carts is hard for me to imagine that you're going to be able to get those geared up in the United States and compete even with a 30% tariff. I may be wrong, but some of these products are mature manufacturing overseas, and we have very immature manufacturing, or it's high cost in the United States. It's something we're going to have to deal with. I don't know what to say about the Trump tariffs because, from a legal standpoint, I have my own opinions about that. But these are realities for all industries in the United States, and particularly cannabis industry. I'm going to throw it back to you guys for your comments and what you think about this.
I can't use the word I want to use, Jail. Jason's going to yell at me.
Do it.
But we're getting F'd in the A.
And over.
Oh man,
over.
man.
With a cactus, right?
It just seems like there was no thought put into the pain that this was going to cost so many different businesses across so many different industries. And you stack these tariffs on top of, for our industry, on top of 280E taxes, state regulations, and an illicit market that doesn't have to pay any of it. The real surprise isn't that cannabis companies are struggling. It's that so many are still standing. That's just stupid.
Well, I'm personally in favor of the tariffs. I'm a big fan of the tariffs.
We know. Listen, I don't have a problem with the tariffs. I do have a problem with, what we're paying and how much we're struggling. So keep the tariffs, knock out 280E.
I'm down with knocking out 280E. I'm totally for knocking out 280E. I'm totally for removing all these erroneous taxes that are being totally grifted by these state agencies and NGOs and nonprofits and whatnot, and aren't going to actually benefit the state or benefit the people of the state or the industry or anything else like that. And shout out to Steve Hilton for his exposure with the Cal Doge team on where all of these tax dollars in California at least are being grifted out to.
Yeah, I heard that we're paying for 10 private security for Kamala Harris's book tour, but I digress. Back to the story and what we're talking about here. There are American manufacturers, and I think that is the point, and that is the spirit of the tariffs and why they were enacted, right?
Exactly.
It's to increase our GDP and to make sure that we're buying America first, creating American jobs. So if you guys need some help sourcing things from American suppliers, maybe reach out to your Rolodex. I've got some great people in mind. There are ways to not source from abroad. It's going to cost you more though, and we hate to do anything that's expensive, right?
But buy America.
Well, but that's the discussions you have, Jenny Beth, and I'm sure you've been part of these. We're sitting down with the team or the committee from the board, and you're figuring, okay, how are we going to price something? All right, and you're adding up the cost of the ingredients or the products that go into your final widget you're going to make. Okay, and when you look around the United States and you see, oh my God, this costs X amount, and we were in China, and it's like, oh, this is 30% of what it costs here. And then all of a sudden that metric changed. We came back to the United States. We had to do a completely new cost structure. But we're looking at profit margins that are huge. I mean, quite frankly, we're looking at huge profit margins in the company I'm advising right now. Cannabis, you don't get that. Okay. And that's part of the concern for me, is that Trump is out there fighting back against a history of unfair tariffs against us. I get it. And I don't think any previous president was willing to grab somebody by the throat and say, listen, we're tired of your goddamn tariff policy. We're punching back.
Yep.
I get them. Okay, I'm not a dove. I'm not fully a hawk, but I'm not a dove either. I'm tired of bending over. And someone's called a cactus coming at me. I don't play that game very well. But there are collateral consequences to everything you do at this sort of a level. And I don't think we were in anybody's thought process. Okay, we're not here of anybody's agenda as much as we want everyone to pay attention to us, but we suffer the same collateral consequences. And every place you look where we're being gouged or what we're doing is being wasted. It makes me angry that no one seems to think that we're worthy of anybody's attention. You can continue to gouge us and bleed us dry. And then, as Steve Hilton pointed out, take our money and not be accountable for where it's being wasted. Well, that's happening everywhere. But it's particularly hard for me because we're struggling. We are dying as an industry, and they're wasting our goddamn tax dollars on stuff that I don't want to pay for someone's book tour or someone's private jet with a bedroom in it. I'm none of this stuff. I don't care. Stop it. It's not fair to us. We're paying for it. And people just think it's okay. I'm just going to take the luxury tickets. No one will care. Or I'm bringing my boyfriend along or whatever. I don't, stop it. Not on our nickel. You're killing us.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Jason made that face because he's trying to fly on some of those jets. He's like, can I ride on it though?
No. That is not why I made that face at all. That is not why I made that.
All I could picture when you said the hot comment was you as Foghorn Leghorn and Jason as the chicken hawk.
Yeah. You're so silly. I'm
a chicken hawk.
Oh, man.
Well, the problem is everybody wants to ride on the jet and be the cool kid on the block. But when you look at it, it's like, this is not what we intended our money to do.
Well, Dale,
both sides are guilty of it, and I'm tired of hearing about it.
Dale, at least if I'm on the jet, I'm going to post it on social media and let you live vicarious through my lifestyle.
Yeah, well, there's delusions.
Well, you live vicariously through someone else's lifestyle.
Oh, man. And on that, we're going to keep this thing rolling. We're going to roll right into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Under President Trump, America is back. Trump's delivered the largest tax cut in history, putting more money in our pockets and restored America's economic dominance. Promises made, promises kept. Now it's time to fulfill another promise from President Trump and reschedule cannabis, which supports over 400,000 jobs and creates billions of dollars in economic growth. Reschedule cannabis and stack another win, Mr. President. America First Agriculture Action Inc. is responsible for the contents of this advertising.
Oh, yes, and we're back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And again, please make sure that you are following us on X and Rumble, as those are the two most stable platforms on the metaverse. And please join us on Sunday, March 15th, over at Mann's Chinese Theater on Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood, California, in Los Angeles, whatever you want to call it. But basically, Catalyst is hosting a protest to protest these pedophiles that are going down all around. And so please join us. That's, again, is Sunday, March 15th, 2 p.m., right outside of Mann's Chinese Theater.
Rescheduling cannabis, which was classified as more dangerous than fentanyl. Trump's action will destroy the cartel's illicit black market, expand medical research, and ensure seniors and veterans safely receive the care they need. Thank President Trump for delivering on another America First promise.
All right. And I did forget one other mention that I did want to mention is I did want to congratulate Anna's on opening their new location in, I believe it's Belmont Shore.
Belmont Shore.
Yes, right over on. Yes, right on 2nd Street at is it Santa Clara? Santa Clara, I think it is. Something like that. I
can't go that far with you, but
yeah, I think
it's in Belmont Shores.
It's on Belmont Shores on 2nd Street. So make sure you check out the new grand opening of Anna's. And on that, we're going to roll right in to the man out there in Austin, Texas. That's right, Mr. Stone Slade. He's the Marlboro man of the cannabis industry. And oftentimes, he rolls up his pre-rolls in his sleeve and tries to flex on people too. That's right, it is none other than the man himself, Mr. Stone Slade.
That was a new one, Jason.
I'll do it next time.
I tried to not give you a Delta 8 one. I had a whole one that I was going to do for Delta 8, but I'll save that for next week. I wanted to give you a break. I know your back is getting back into healing. I didn't want you to, hurt yourself.
Beat him up.
Yeah.
I'm coming in June, I think. So
no way.
Come beat you up.
I'm with this. All
right. Hey, we doing the news here or what? Let's go.
Go for it.
You've probably heard people talk about wine and romance, maybe even champagne and romance, but cannabis and romance, That's a conversation that until recently, most researchers seemed a little too shy to have. Now, a new study published in the Journal of Sex Research is doing exactly that, exploring why young adults say they use cannabis during sex. And the answers are probably not that surprising. Researchers at the University de Quebec in Montreal interviewed 27 adults between the age of 18 and 24 in Quebec, all of whom reported using cannabis in a sexual context with a partner at least once in the past year. The interviews were detailed, some lasting more than 2 hours, and the researchers were looking for patterns in how people describe their experiences. What they found boiled down to 3 main motivations. Number 1, enhancing pleasure and connection. The first reason participants give was simple: it made the experience feel better. Many reported that cannabis heightened physical sensation. Ordinary touches felt more intense. Some described feeling more emotionally connected to their partner, like they were sharing with what one participant called a kind of bubble of intimacy. For some men in the study, cannabis was also used to boost confidence or energy, helping them live up to cultural expectations around sexual performance. Others said the plant helped them relax enough to stop overthinking things. And if you've ever had your brain run a mile a minute, when you're supposed to be relaxing, then you probably understand that appeal of that. Number 2, reducing anxiety. The second major theme was anxiety reduction. Participants, especially women in the study, said cannabis helped them quiet intrusive thoughts during intimacy. Things that they worry about, like work, or anybody worries about, like work, or how they look, or whether they're doing things right. In other words, cannabis helped some people get out of their heads and into the moment. For transgender participants, some reported that cannabis eased feelings of gender dysphoria, helping them feel more comfortable in their bodies during intimate experiences. But researchers also found a more complicated side to this. And in some cases, people said cannabis helped them emotionally detach during sexual experiences that they weren't entirely enthusiastic about, sometimes due to relationship expectations, past trauma, and other pressures. Which is one reason researchers caution that cannabis shouldn't be viewed as a universal solution for all sexual difficulties. Now, number 3, it's just habit. Third reason was much less dramatic. Sometimes people didn't plan to combine the two. They just simply used cannabis regularly and happened to be high when the chance for intimacy arose. Over time, participants even reported developing a conditioned association between the two. In other words, the brain starts linking cannabis use and sexual arousal simply because the two experiences frequently happen together. The bigger conversations, study author, French one, I don't know it, and I'm sorry, Malay.
Of course, it was Malay.
Yeah, Malay. The biggest takeaway in that conversation about cannabis and sex tend to focus almost entirely on risk and harm, but that doesn't necessarily reflect how people actually experience it. For many participants, cannabis was described as something that enhanced pleasure, reduced anxiety, and helped them feel more present with a partner. And when you think about it, that probably explains why cannabis is the second most commonly used substance during sex, right behind alcohol. Yet, it's received surprisingly little research, partly because topics involving both sex and cannabis tend to make people in lab coats and politicians a little uncomfortable. But as cannabis becomes more normalized across North America, researchers say understanding how people actually use it in their lives, including their intimate lives, is becoming increasingly important. Because whether policymakers like it or not, people aren't just pairing cannabis with music, movies, and late night tacos. Many of us are pairing it with romance too. I'm Stone Slade with the High at 9 News.
Wow, Stone, I didn't know that little cannabis would make you feel like a pretty princess and you forget all about that big old dick.
Sorry about that.
Or stop worrying about what your husband's outside the
Technical
window.
difficulty. I was being smooth with my right.
Oh, man.
Or stop worrying about whether your husband's outside the window looking in. Right?
Oh, man.
And remember,
Are my
dry
balls
mouth.
showing?
Anticipate dry mouth, okay?
Mhm. Wow.
I'm sorry.
I think it's about the article. I think it's really interesting that a lot of what was covered were related to the disassociative effects of cannabis. That's something worth noting. Not that that's a bad thing in any light, and we're all aware, just in terms of being high, that there's a disassociation going on. That's why it's great for pain management and stuff like that. It's interesting that a lot of what it seems like is that people sort of almost gravitate, because I doubt that any of the people that the article alluded to, it was like first time stuff, the idea that people will gravitate towards this disassociation for the purpose of improving, or in certain areas maybe seemingly enhancing or just embellishing the overall experience or anything like that, and doing that through some kind of channel of a disassociation, it almost points to, and we know there's certain very old school coded relationships cannabis and humans have. It's really interesting to see it play out like this. That's just taking notes. I think, none of us are really apart from these kind of things that you mentioned through the article, right? So in that sense, that's really interesting. Is it part of human nature? Possibly. And that's kind of cool. And I guess we chose right when we decided to get high, right?
Well, and there's also like topicals, like there's Jason, funny story, somebody that we know that I used to date.
Surprise.
I was helping research and launch a cannabis lubricant company. And there are sometimes it makes things a little spicier, and sometimes it makes it a little too spicy, and you have to run to the bathroom and wash your stuff off. He had a horrible time. There's a warning on that packaging because of him. So you might want to swerve away from that product.
Stone,
that brand called Raw Dog?
Oh, Stone. What did they discuss all of the different ways to use cannabis while having intercourse?
No, it wasn't really about that. More just people's experiences that had done that.
Stop being a freaky little frog, Jason.
Well, I'm just getting this crazy, vision in my head is all, and so that's not.
Whoa, that's dangerous. Yeah, I've been a girl dad for 50 years. I've had these discussions more times than I care remember. And people get embarrassed when you talk to a female about sexual intimacy and you're not banging her. Okay, we need to have more discussions about this, honestly. Alcohol is a great social lubricant because it lowers your inhibitions, but in the back seat of your car in a parking lot of a bar is probably not the best place to, be talking about lubricants for sexual pleasure. We should be able to talk about this. It should be able to be marketed to people because it is real, and we need to talk. I mean, if you're intimate with people, at some point you have a discussion about how was that, and unless you're just a total freak, you don't care. But if you want to make sure to know, it's not just for me. What are you getting out of this? And, honestly, be able to talk about things like that. And if you're not in the mood, here, I've got this this new brand called Bend Over and Have Me. And let's see if it works. And then my daughter says, "Come on, Dad, stop it." Okay.
Where do they sell this Bend Over Will You Have Me? Where?
It's right next to it's right next.
Come on, Jenny, let's work on a brand here. Okay?
Just so you know, Stone, it's on the counter right next to the Bend Over and Grab Your Ankles. Yeah.
Which is ironically placed right next to the soap.
Yeah, and a mouth gargle for dry mouth before you start.
Oh
boy.
Good story, Stone. That was
this is and very timely for Valentine's Day, Stone. Very timely.
A little late, Jason. A little late.
Very timely. Very timely for Valentine's Day. Some people are late sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Some people forget it's Valentine's Day. They work,
maybe some people are late after Valentine's. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, then you gotta start worrying. Are we counting weeks here or what?
Hey, hey.
Oh boy.
Some people like to sleep in sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Well, whatever, you guys. On that, we're gonna roll into our final commercial, and we are gonna be right back. I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's Joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi. But on that, we are going to roll right into Mr. Nate Winokur. Nate Winokur was the founder of a lab in California that was unjustly prosecuted and forced to turn in their license with no just cause and no recourse offered to them at all. And now he focuses his time on educating the cannabis industry on all the nuances of testing with his new series, Teaching Bud, available everywhere, including YouTube. It is none other than Mr. Nate Winokur. Yeah, Nate, you're on, Nate. You're on, Nate.
You're on mute, so you're on.
Yeah, you're on mute, Nate. There we go. You're on, still on mute.
No, thank you.
There we go.
Yeah,
we got you now.
I was expecting those commercials to last a little bit longer. Thank you, guys. All right.
That's what she said.
How
Nate.
are you? How are you, Jason? How are you, everybody? I'd like to share a story with you. Today, it's the National Institute of Health releases a scientific paper on the therapeutic value of acidic cannabinoids. A new scientific review published in the NIH Library of Medicine shines a spotlight on one of the most overlooked areas of cannabis science: the untapped benefits of acidic cannabinoids naturally produced by cannabis sativa, and cannabis indica for what it's worth, and ruderalis, THCA, CBDA, CBGA, CBCA. Virtually anytime you see a cannabinoid with the A, suffix, we're referring to an acidic cannabinoid. It's such as THCA is THC acid. Moving along. These compounds are the biosynthetic precursors to THC, CBD, CBG, and CBC. But the review makes a critical point. Acidic cannabinoids are not simply pre-THC or pre-CBD. In their native form, they are non-intoxicating, pharmacologically distinct, and biologically active in their own right. All major acidic cannabinoids originate from CBGA, often referred to as the mother cannabinoid, which is enzymatically converted into THCA, CBDA, CBCA, and so forth in the plant's glandular trichomes. However, the challenge in accessing these powerful compounds lies in their chemical instability. Exposure to heat, light, oxygen, or time triggers decarboxylation, which is the loss of CO2, converting THCA into THC, CBDA into CBD, CBGA into CBG, and so forth. Standard drying, curing, extraction, distillation, baking, and even storage conditions unintentionally reduce acidic cannabinoid content. I don't know if unintentionally is the way to go. Nobody distills their cannabis and expects for THCA to be any part of that end result. Thermal extraction methods commonly used in manufacturing, such as distillation, can effectively eliminate the very compounds this review highlights as therapeutically promising. Preserving acidic cannabinoids requires cold processing, stability-aware packaging, careful solvent management, and analytical methods that avoid artificial decarboxylation during testing. From a pharmacological perspective, acidic cannabinoids exhibit a multi-target activity that differs meaningfully from that of their neutral counterparts. Rather than strongly binding to CB1 receptors, THCA shows minimal CB1 affinity, meaning it does not produce intoxication. However, acidic cannabinoids act on molecular targets, including 5-HT1A serotonin receptors, COX2 enzymes, PPARY nuclear receptors, TRP ion channels, calcium signaling pathways, and Alzheimer's-related enzymes such as BACE1 and cholesterol. I usually mess this one up. Cholinesterase. Preclinical findings suggest broad therapeutic potential. In neurodegenerative disease models, acidic cannabinoids reduced amyloid B accumulation, modulated intracellular calcium, decreased neuroinflammation, and improved memory performance. Of all the words I screw up, right? The multi-target activity may be particularly relevant in Alzheimer's research, where polypharmacology is increasingly valued. In inflammation and pain models, THCA and CBDA demonstrated COX2 inhibition and PPARY medicated anti-inflammatory effects, reducing joint swelling and cartilage damage in arthritis studies. Early oncology research shows anti-migratory and anti-proliferative effects in aggressive cancer cell lines, along with anti-metastatic signaling pathways. That's anti-cancer, guys, and that's anti-cancer spreading in your body, just for those paying close attention. In epilepsy models, CBDA increased seizure thresholds, particularly when optimized formulations enhanced central nervous system exposure. The paper emphasizes a major barrier in pharmacokinetics. Acidic cannabinoids exhibit rapid absorption, but short half-lives, low brain penetration, and limited bioavailability due to their carboxyl group, which restricts blood-brain barrier permeability. Delivery systems significantly influence outcomes, suggesting formulation science may be as critical as molecular discovery. Regulatory hurdles remain substantial. No acidic cannabinoid has received FDA approval, and clinical trials in humans are limited. While some products are marketed under supplement frameworks, potency variability and labeling inconsistencies persist. The authors conclude that acidic cannabinoids represent a biologically compelling but technically fragile class of compounds. Their instability, limited pharmacokinetic data, and lack of controlled human trials have slowed medical adoption. However, advances in stabilization, encapsulation, delivery systems, and microbial biosynthetics could unlock their potential as next-generation precision cannabinoid therapeutics. Crazy. So a lot of people aren't aware of the parts of cannabis that don't get you high. I know it wasn't really spelled out like that, but that's basically what we're talking about when you consider cannabis and the major chemical. That's THCA, right? And what happens when you take THCA and you heat it up, that usually happens at the end of a joint or in a bowl or during a dab or in some cases in a vape pen hit, but that, there's a little bit more going on there. In those cases, we have instances where THCA is converting to THC. It's going from one chemical to another. And that one chemical, THCA, has this fantastic binding affinity to places like your digestive system. I don't know if you guys have ever heard me suggesting eating hash before as a means of being able to help ease a sour stomach or anything in that direction, but that's really a thing. If you take a version of cannabis that's cold extracted, and if you apply that to the cannabinoid receptors along your digestive system, you are able to benefit from massive anti-inflammatory properties. And because so little of it actually decarboxylates in your system, not very much of that experience is going to be associated with a high, because THCA, what you just ate, doesn't actually get you high. In other words, if you tried to make edibles, but you failed to decarboxylate it properly, you would almost consider the edibles to be bunk because they wouldn't get you high. I mean, they might make your back feel better because of an anti-inflammatory property that would be lost through decarboxylation. But essentially, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about how THCA has a separate value from THC, CBDA has a different value from CBD, and we can go on with that information. And so there's massive benefits that can happen here. If you read a lot of the studies, you can even look at anti-cancerous effects that are present in THCA that are not present in Delta-9 THC. This even goes further, and even though it's not mentioned in the article, since we mentioned THCA, you guys remember that whole conversation like across the U.S. for the last 7 or 8 years, right?
I love THCA.
That's basically, yeah, right? That's the hemp industry. So what are we talking about? It's the same term for anybody not familiar with it. THCA is just the version of THC that grows on the plant. It's the raw version of THC. At some point through poorly written laws, in my opinion, people can say whatever they want to about Farm Bill since 2018, but not the best example of beautifully written documentation here. And because of misrights, one could say, in the law, you're faced with this idea where THC can be defined separate from THCA, even though THCA, to oversimplify it, turns into THC. What we're looking at in that case is we're looking at the fact that this thing that's not able to, or this thing that's able to be a non call it inebriatory agent is able to have all of these extra uses potentially. Let's see how it'll be ultimately delivered. But if you're talking about things like extracts and ever wanting to expose yourself to THCA, just because I wouldn't recommend eating a nug that's got a very high insoluble fiber content, that's going to give you a hell of a stomach ache. But if you actually ate an extract that was high in THCA, which would be like hash, rosin, generally live resin is, anything with a high THCA, low delta-9 content is going to have a lot of the effects that were discussed here in the article. Sorry to drone on for so long, but this is a subject that's close to my heart. In other words, all of the uses of cannabis and all of the chemicals out there and every bit of good that can be given to the world through this channel, yet we unfortunately minimalize it to this thing that just gets you high, and that's not what it is, in my opinion. It's this amazing therapeutic plant, and one of the things it can do is get you high. It's not this thing that gets you high and it can also make your back feel better. Like, no, it makes everything generally in your system better, because there's so many systems that support it and so many ways it binds, and so much good that generally happens in systems that have a responsible amount of cannabis going into them. That's all my thoughts. What do you guys think?
No. I just found out that Jason's acidic because he's definitely an A.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. I think it's cool that, just with a touch of a button, I can convert THCA to THC Delta 9 just by the punch of a button.
Yeah. It all went over your head, Jason.
Stop it, Dale.
Jason's like, back to getting high.
Yeah, yes. I like to push buttons.
The problem today with our pharmaceutical industry and the DEA is that they disfavor getting high. If a drug gets you high, you're fighting headwinds in the pharmaceutical world, because the idea is that leads to addiction and all sorts of other problems. So we're looking for ways not to get high. Okay, that's like the first part of this. The other thing that I think needs to be going on is pharmacists need to be working on, can this be scaled up? If we can get products that are THCA heavy, or only that product, can it be scaled up so it could actually be used? And then the neurologist, the oncologist, okay, the pain management people need to start devising studies so we can see if we take THCA and it actually gets in and it crosses the blood-brain barrier and it works on these myeloid plaques and things like that, and we enhance that. Does it work? Is it safe? Is it efficacious? What's the levels we need to use? Because these are probably the good part of making this a Schedule III drug for people with chronic pain, for Alzheimer's, with cancer, things like that. But for those of us who are old school, I don't like smoking hemp. So, I kind of like the high part of it, and I don't care what the DEA has to say. That's what we got started here. But, the other thing that I'm curious about, Nate, is that the route of administration, okay? Because if you take THCA through the liver's job, is to detoxify, to remove, put molecules on, transpose them around. What does it do? As it's Delta 9, then it changes to hydroxy 11. Okay, that's part of what it does. But if you take it, say, as a sublingual, can they make it so that it crosses the epithelial barriers and get into your bloodstream, and does it cross the blood-brain barrier? Then does it get intercellular? Those are the things that, I geek out with you, because I did take organic chemistry and I've been married to a physician for a long time, been part of these discussions, like, how do you break this apart into something we can target it? Okay?
So I can I can give you a little bit of insight right there, Dale. Sorry to cut you off a little bit, but a very small amount of decarboxylation, or you mentioned 11-hydroxy, a very small amount of that effect will generally go in. I say that because I've taken massive doses, between 0.5 gram and 1 gram of non-decarboxylated material. So assuming something, let's just say it's run-of-the-mill, bubble hash, about 50% THC, 2 grams of that will be about 1,000 milligrams, or so. So, in these cases, I'm taking between maybe about 250 and 500 milligrams of that product. Normally that would floor me, like absolutely floor me. I'm not a Superman. I can take about 100 milligrams, 200 milligrams though, or anything close to about that range. Good effing night. Like I'm not coming back from that till tomorrow. So with that kind of thing said, I've taken massive levels of dose and not felt anything in that direction to where I have personal weigh-in and experience with what's going on here. There's a notion that you could have a conversion from delta 9 to 11-hydroxy, which is generally what would happen with edibles, and why edibles within a certain milligram content would hit you so much harder. 11-hydroxy conversion leads to about 2 to 5 times stronger effects. Hence, 100 milligrams of edible should feel like somewhere around 200, 250, up to about 500 milligrams of smoking, a similar amount of THC, milligram for milligram. What you have here, and this is just my belief and having experienced it as well, is that you're not going to see with THCA very much conversion. I'm sure it's possible that some happens, but from what I understand, that conversion and that pathway happens strictly with delta 9. And THCA going through the system, not only is it slightly more water soluble, which I don't know if it's to a heavy enough degree to say this one's water soluble and this one isn't, but THCA definitely has more so, at least in slight degrees of a water solubility, better than delta 9. And at the same time, it seems to dissolve into the body extremely well. Now, to support that, you have an absolute ton of cannabinoid receptors happening around your stomach and intestines. In fact, the binding affinity is said to be hundreds to sometimes thousands of times greater for your acidic, burned cannabinoids than for actual active, like some cannabinoids such as delta 9. Mm-hmm. And so the opportunity for these receptors to be readily available to take in these types of cannabis supports everything we've ever said and read about it too. In fact, including the fact that people may have straight up evolved while eating it. And this is a direct result of being able to give the body one more avenue of access and create literally a secondary pathway to how people can take it and enjoy it and all of that stuff. I mean, fascinating if you want to go that far, but that's just some weigh-ins right there with what you said.
Well, but I've when it gets into the PDR, the physician's desk reference, and an uninformed physician can look up, if I prescribe X product with THCA in it orally, what's the efficacy versus sublingually or things like that. Those are where, the medical profession needs to be taken. And I think pharmacologically, that's where it's going to go. But for the rest of us, you want to go into a dispensary, say, and talk to a bud tender, and you want them to be trained in, okay, I'm having knee pain when the weather fronts come in. What will work for that? And to be able to honestly say to somebody, with some factual backing, this is what I think works, rather than, a bud tender saying, oh, this is how it works on me. Well, honestly, it doesn't matter how it works on an individual. We need to work on a bigger scale here. And ultimately, this is oil and our body is water, and they don't mix. And I think that's an important consideration of how you get it in the system so it's efficacious without causing problems. And, you and I, Nate, could think of 100 different research projects to do here on this, because I get kind of geeky about it too. But the average person's like, hey, bud tender, grandma's getting Alzheimer's. What can I give her to try and reverse that? That's sort of where we'd like to get this to go. And, who knows if it's going to get there and how fast. And If we get a pharmaceutical company getting a patent on something like this, trust me, they'll go as far as they can take it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was a fascinating discussion. And I have one final story for you guys today, you guys.
Coming up last, it's the biggest rear end, the A in the High at 9 News. Bringing up the caboose, Jason Beck.
That's cute, Jenny Beth. Where's the A in? Oh, High at. Okay, fair enough. All right.
No, you're the A.
Cute.
Love you,
Well,
man.
I told you.
Or at one of those two.
Easy there. I told you guys I was doing a talk last Saturday, and I want to thank Adam Shorn who wrote this recap. He used to write for the LA Times, and possibly may be joining us on some episodes here at High 9 News in the future. But he wrote this about this whole event, and so he did a recap of the inaugural Cannabis Culture and Change Conference in West Hollywood. The day-long February 28th event ended with a rousing call to action. Come out for cannabis, urges Emerald Village's executive director. Sunlight is a disinfectant. That's right. The inaugural Cannabis Culture and Change Conference, which took place on February 28th in West Hollywood City Council chambers, brought together politicians, activists, and business owners for a day-long event focusing on the city's unique position at the intersection of the LGBTQ plus rights and cannabis movements, specifically what the latter could learn from the former in the ongoing fight for wider spread normalization, legalization, and destigmatization. Kicking off at 11 a.m. and keeping things on track throughout as master of ceremonies was comedian Ngaio Balum, who began by introducing a series of high-profile politicians, including Mayor John Heilman, Vice Mayor Danny Hang, and City Council member John Erickson, each of whom made brief remarks in support of the plant. The last and most high-profile politician to take the stage was California State Treasurer and candidate for Lieutenant Governor Fiona Ma, who said she shared the cannabis industry's frustrations over tax issues, including high tax rates and 280E, the federal tax code provision that prohibits the cannabis businesses from deducting ordinary business expenses, and the lack of access to banking. She also said the time was ripe for action at the state level. In a quote, "I think Prop 64 is a big failure, and we need to change it," Ma said to enthusiastic applause. "I spoke at a conference about 6 months ago and said, if you guys want to reform Prop 64, I will help you. I will work with you, because I think right now the state legislature is very progressive and they want to see California lead in so many areas, especially given that we're going to have structural deficit over the next few years. And we basically strangled the golden goose where we thought this was going to be one of our top industries. We were number 1 10 years ago, and now I don't even know whether we're in last place or what in comparison to all the other states. And that's a shame." Bo Whitney, chief economist for Portland, Oregon-based Whitney Economics, took the stage as a featured speaker, and his data-rich presentation looked at the state of the cannabis industry in California, and as his takeaway overall is not so great. He offered some business wisdom to handle the chaotic operating environment and says, "I'm advising my clients to stay the course, but be nimble, flexible, and ready to pivot," and shared some super interesting insight about the brand value of the Golden State's largest cash crop. "We've done a comparison of the brand value of Napa Valley wines versus cannabis from the 3 Emerald Triangle counties," Whitney said, "and the brand value of the cannabis there is greater than the brand value of the entire Napa Valley wine scene. That's the power of the California brand, and that needs to be celebrated, not controlled, in my opinion." Next up was the first of the day's 3 panel discussions, Science and Economics of Medical Cannabis, featuring dispensary owner Jason Beck, that's right, podcast host Sarah Payan, and Dr. Terry Church from USC's Mann School of Pharmacy, with Sam Mestrano of USC's Suzanne Dvorak School of Social Work as a moderator. The biggest takeaway from that robust discussion, that the potential reclassification of cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 at the federal level would unleash a cascade of benefits for both the scientists who study it as well as the patients who rely on it. Payan drew applause for her pointed critique that THC taxes are bullshit. After a brief on-stage Q&A between MC Balam and LA County Assessor Jeffrey Prang, the day's second panel, Design and Storytelling, kicked off with Butta's co-founder and CEO Jocelyn Sheltraw moderating a discussion between Scoot, the artist behind the West Hollywood Fun Map, Artistry Dispensary founder Lauren Fontaine, and Jake Stevens, SVP at the WeHo real estate firm Faring. Their biggest takeaway, the upscale look and feel of the city's cannabis infrastructure, from the design of maps to the dispensary and lounge interiors, is a powerful shaper of public perception that extends far beyond its borders, and one that is likely to become even more so with events like the World Cup, 2027 Super Bowl, and the 2028 Olympics on the horizon. As Stevens summed it up, West Hollywood has the opportunity to set a global benchmark. In the final panel discussion of the day, Gay Liberation and Cannabis Legalization, featured West Hollywood Chamber of Commerce President and CEO Len Lanzi, facilitating a wide-ranging conversation between the Executive Director and President of LA Normal, Ian Rassman, former West Hollywood Mayor John D'Amico, and founder of the Brownie Mary Democrats, Lanny Swerdlow. Their general consensus that creating any kind of substantial change in the cannabis space, from decreased tax rates or wider legalization, requires increased political involvement in form of both coalition building and raising money. After that, Emerald Village West Hollywood Executive Director Scott Schmidt offered closing remarks and tied the panel takeaways and featured speakers' insights together and issued a rousing call to action titled "Come Out for Cannabis." It urged the industry's movers and shakers to take a page from the playbook of the gay rights activists in the city beyond to move the needle. In a quote, "The one tried and true strategy that cannabis can learn from gay and lesbian people is really simple," Schmidt said, "and it's something that each and every one of us in this room can do starting today. Come out for cannabis. Come out for cannabis and tell your story. Come out for cannabis and talk about what the plant does for you and how safe and affordable access every day matters in your life. Talk to your local, state, and federal leaders and ask them to take meaningful action together." And for all attendees motivated to heed that call but might be unsure of what that might look like in practice, the film screening that followed after a short dinner break provided an extremely powerful example. Presented by Queer and Cannabis founder Rich Magna, the documentary Join the Club, directed by Kip Adelson and Chris O'Connell, and written by Paul Manchard, focused on the work of the late cannabis activist and founder of medical cannabis, Dennis Perrone, motivated by his desire to help HIV and AIDS patients and spurred on by the loss of his partner Jonathan West to AIDS in 1990. Perrone became the enthusiastic leader of the movement that resulted in California's 1996 passage of landmark medical marijuana legalization. The film illustrates just how daunting it was to be out of the cannabis closet in the years before legalization, and underscores how important all hands-on-deck involvement was to the success of the movement. And it ends with Perrone's own powerful words that, while plucked from a 2010 interview, are even more important to remember given today's current political climate. "Love wins," Perrone says as he looks into the camera. Love wins. Well, that was a fun little thing, fun little shindig. I hope people got to make it out there, and people. People. We had a lot of people there. It was a good time. You know what I'm saying? It was nice to see everybody, and also too, Fiona Ma during her remarks also gave me a shout out for educating her in the early days as to cannabis and cannabis policy. What do y'all say about this?
There you go. And shout out to the homie Ngayo Belam.
Mm-hmm. I always murder that name. I'm sorry. Oh,
no, he's a great guy. I got stuck in, remember when I got stuck in Europe? I ended up going to Zandan, meeting up with him. I taught him the chicken dance while we were waiting at a bus stop.
Oh, yes, I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate everybody's sentiment, okay? But I spent the better part of the last year butting heads with the Democratic Party, trying to get them to understand that Prop 64 has some fundamental flaws in it. And the powers that run this state, and that's not Brownie Mary Democrats, because I try to do it through that group. Powers that run this state are labor unions, including, and most importantly, the public employees labor unions, okay, the cities and counties and law enforcement organizations are not in favor of changing the structural problems of Prop 64. I had a meeting with Fiona. I talked to her at the convention last year, the Democratic convention, where I had a platform to tell them, I'm an old white dude. Why am I the enemy? I was kind of pissed off about that. But this ain't rocket science. You take this much money and allow every local jurisdiction to prohibit or to tax the shit out of it, to regulate it, okay? And the fees for licensing, hell, for a big manufacturer or distributor, I mean, it's $650,000 a year, every damn year. I had these discussions. The Democratic Party was not interested in giving any credence to this because the owners of the party don't want it to happen. And I got to that point where I just said, I'm out of here. I can't talk to you guys anymore because you do not want to listen, okay? And I still have that same position. I'll talk to any of them they want to, but I'll also tell them straight to their face, you're full of shit. Because I have been there watching the Democratic Party being unwilling to go after the cities and counties and tell them, you lose power, you can get a sales tax, but the rest of this is killing the industry. These goddamn fees are horrible. And alcohol is priced as taxed at 1% for beer and wine and 3% for distilled spirits. Okay, why are we at 15%? And then they're out wasting our goddamn money. I get really frustrated because too much of this is performative, okay? And that's where I get pissed off because I'm tired of talking. That's, and I don't want to be crude here, but the female way of thinking, let's just keep talking, okay? The guy way of thinking is like, I'm done talking. I'm going to smack somebody in the mouth. And that's where I've gotten with this whole thing. Somebody needs to get punched in the face about this.
Yeah.
Wake up that we're dying here as an industry. It's emblematic of the problems with California government, overtax and overregulation, and they're happy to keep taking money while they watch our cash cow die. Okay, and I don't care who you are. I'm a Democrat, and I'm an angry Democrat because I'm watching this, and no one seems to have the balls or the backbone to do anything about it. So I'm happy to talk to you, great, but at some point the talking stops. And somebody has to actually do something to fix the problem. And I just don't see it happening, Jason.
I'm with you. Hey, we're going to keep on fighting for this state and for this industry, Dale. And, ultimately someone is going to ultimately help us out. And hopefully that person will reveal themselves soon in the future. Dale, that's all.
And you know what?
The odds are the black market's going to win. So where are you going to put your money and your efforts? That's the problem we're facing.
And it's not all women, Dale. I like to shut up and slap somebody every now and again too.
Oh no, it's feminine. I'm not saying it's. I have friends that are more masculine than me, and they're feminine. They're females. Oh man, they'll slap the shit out of you. It's. Let's keep talking, and let's try another angle here. And for me, it's like I'm gonna lock and load. I'm gonna blow the goddamn building up.
Yeah.
Let's do something about this. That's the more of the knuckle dragger guy way of doing it, and I'm happy to say, it's knuckle dragging.
Yep.
But God's sakes, we've talked ourselves to death. Somebody needs to kick the anthill and fix this. And I don't see, on the D side, I don't see anybody saying, well, we're going to be tough on this. And that's one of my concerns with my party right now. It's like, who's going to take on this role and grow a backbone and take on these special interest groups that control our state? Who's got the
cojones? The cojones, Dale. Cojones. Yeah.
Bill Maher's going to give the cojones award to whoever can do that.
Yeah.
Right?
The
Fair
Golden
enough.
Nutsack Award.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Any final thoughts on this, Nate, before we close out?
No, sir. Nothing helpful to add.
All right, fair enough. And on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high at noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. And thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media partners Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.